Hello, English 346. It is Thursday. You get a lecture. So this week we're watching The Watermelon Woman, this film by Cheryl Doyne from 1996. She is still a working filmmaker. She has been directing lots of episodes of TV shows that you may have been watching if you check out her IMDb page. What I'd like you to think about as you watch the film and then for the first exercise is how Cheryl understands her identity differently than Celie in The Color Purple. So both characters are Black, both characters are women, both characters experience same-sex desire. But I think that they have really different meanings for the two characters. And one place where you might start is just with the idea of labels. Celie never uses any words to describe her identity as someone who has same-sex desire for Shug. She never says the word lesbian, which is the word that we might expect. Whereas Cheryl does use the word lesbian many times. She's part of a lesbian community. She enters another lesbian community from the past, and she has a very rich taxonomy of language around how people experience same-sex desire. So, for example, early on in the film, when Tamara wants to set Cheryl up with the woman who does the nightmare karaoke performance, Tamara apologizes for setting her up with someone who is spiritual. Right now, in The Color Purple, Shug's spirituality is liberating for Celie, right? That actually gets her out of a kind of patriarchal mode of thinking about the universe. Whereas in The Watermelon Woman, Cheryl is extremely turned off by someone being spiritual, and then even says the word is not spiritual. The word is heavy Afro-femme-centric, right? And I'm reading the subtitle off screen. Heavy Afro-femme-centric is the word, is exactly what Cheryl says, which is funny because that's actually multiple words. But think about how they experience themselves as people in community differently. One of the central questions of The Watermelon Woman is whether or not Cheryl can include white women in her community. Does she have to present an all-Black lesbian community, or can she present an interracial lesbian community? And this is, of course, being played out in her relationship with Diana, as well as being played out in recovering the past of the actress that she's making the documentary about. So I'm going to ask you to just write a few sentences about the differences between how Celie and Cheryl understand themselves and the meanings of their various categories of identity. The second thing I'm going to ask you to do, I know I'm giving you two things. The second thing is I'm going to ask you to come up with questions for Jake Skeets. Jake Skeets is going to be giving a virtual reading at the MCC. Unfortunately, we can't bring readers directly to campus anymore. But I'm going to give you one poem by him. You will be reading his book, but we can't really wait. So I do want to get questions from you to ask him before we do the recording of the Q&A for his visit to campus. Okay, have a good week. I'll see you soon.